everyone, and thank you for people who could attend in person, and also thank you to everyone who's watching online. And we're going to do some talk about the Mount Isa Centennial Place, and I'll just remark that that's not the actual name, that's just the name that we're using at the moment. And this is the opportunity to have some community engagement. So I'd just like to kick off by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we are meeting today, the Kalkadoons, and pay respects to elders past, present and emerging, and also pass on that respect to all of Australia's First Nation people. So without further ado, we'll kick off with our presentation, and I'll hand you over to Brian. Oh, yeah.
So yes, Centennial Place, as we say, that's the name that's been tagged with for now, and thank you, Luke, Dee, David, for coming along this evening. Very, very appreciated. We'll get underway. Just give you a bit of brief background into where we've come from, so to speak, so you can understand where we are now. Council purchased the site late 2019. Council posted about possible future project 10th of January and 13th of March. Council received a combined 174 interactions, 72 comments and 27 shared across the above posts. A post on local page received 376 interactions, 115 comments and 6 shares regarding an Eat Street market style idea, and this is where it eventuated from. Internal designs by council officers were made in March and April, and you'll see those shortly on the next slide. Procurement process was entered into 29th of July, concluded 13th of August, and a consultant was determined 1st of December, which was tracked. These were two of the designs that were put forward through council as concept only, just to get everybody thinking, having a bit of an imagine about what can be and what could be. And you'll see there some of the comments, just an idea. You know, like I said, you see the Eat Street, and that was a bit of a common theme, as I made mention, to come through. Also, only small gathering, so please, if you've got any questions on the way through, please feel free to ask. These are the three areas which we sort of concentrated on by way of the vision: the celebration, recreation and connection. And you can see through there for the comments, celebrating, acknowledge Mount Isa's strong mining presence, as well as its cultural and Indigenous history, and looking ahead to ensure Centennial Place will remain a place of future generations to enjoy. Similarly, with recreation, an activated green heart within the CBD, which supports and provides opportunities for a variety of activities, so both the community and visitors can enjoy at any time of the day or night. And I'll keep that in mind, day or night. Connection, improved connectivity and wayfinding will provide a unique gateway and strong linkages to the broader CBD and civic precinct, as well as creating opportunities for locals and visitors to connect to a place with nature as well as with each other, and that's a big thing with each other. So that was the vision behind it, the makeup, where we want to take when we do this, what we're looking at. The objectives, as you'll see there, create a unique place. I sort of touched on these way before. Establish a gateway to the central business district, and that'll coincide with a bit of CBD master planning that's going on at the same time also, and I'll touch on that later. A place with a cultural focus on Mount Isa's diverse history, including its Indigenous heritage, and you'll see that's a bit of a key theming on the way that we did this and approached it. Creating an active people place that attracts the local community and visitors, acknowledging 100 years of Mount Isa as a city, as well as its Indigenous culture. A safe place which is responsive to its climatic setting, sustainable and future-proof. Providing opportunities for future broader linkages to the Civic Centre and the CBD, as I made mention, and that will come out again later. It's linkages with the CBD master planning that's going on. Just to put it in text where we're looking at, by the way, I think we're all familiar with the site. When we look at this site, you'll see where Worn Out West is, to give it some context. You'll see with this also site location from the main highway area next to the parking as such, and this is just basically to give you an overview and make sure we're aware we're talking about the one This is where we start to get into the nitty-gritty, I suppose, the actual concepts, and this is concept A. You've got it in front of you, but I'll just go to the broader picture here with some of the pictures attached. You'll see in the see at the back there, in the area with the cement seating. Cement seating is what's suggested at this stage as a part of opposite the staged area. You'll see on the inside right of this circle there, and that'll be we saw that as arts, dance, aerobics, yoga, whatever it may be that's on course for community events or shows. The western wall there at the back of the arc seating, you'll see the shade trees, where we are very mindful of shade and cooling area, a cool place and climate to sit down and relax. Admittedly, we'd love to shade the whole thing, but we have to have that open air feel as well. The sloped grass down, I'm going down the left-hand side, sorry, you'll see the sloped area, the green area in the middle slopes down towards the stage, and that's the contour of the land in which we're looking at. Shade trees again along the edge of there. The interesting one is, if I can just point out, you'll see the walkway entrance and around and out. All that area there is covered for shading, and we'll go into the type of shading that's there. Thank you, Ross. Yep. Underneath the arbour, you'll see it's going to be a centennial walkway. It'll mark out the 100 years of Mount Isa, so it might be in 10-year increments that we talk about what happens along that timeline. So when you're walking through, depending on which end, of course, might from the 100 or from wherever. But so that was the idea, so we can have interpretive signage, or in the ground when we're walking on, there'll be paths and pillars and unique ways of telling information about Mount Isa's history and past. And bottom right-hand corner, you'll see that area down here as well. It's a shaded area. Tables and seating under there, so it can be used mornings, afternoons, during the day and night time. The picture there shows tennis tables, thank you Jason, but that's just to give you an idea of activities or things that we can put in place as an alternate use, whether it be for kids, juniors, adults or the like. Also, just with the planning of this, Kutharinga have been involved throughout the whole process to make sure disability access is brought to the fore, and we liaise with those closely. You'll see along the edge we have shipping container-like style kitchens, and this is like for our marketplace, eateries as such. As we can see this, and we'll get into this diagram later, which sort of shows market space also, which can be used in this area. Back top corner up here, we've allowed for proposed location of restrooms, because that's been fairly prominent with feedback to make sure they have restrooms attached. Including, I think it was a change room, I'm pretty sure. Was it ladies, gents, and a change room, I believe it was. You'll see the entrance just below. Again, all those areas that are coming in and going around are all shaded. And that there is concept A. We see it as a multi-use area. There's also a lot of things that will go on with lighting to allow for nighttime and attractiveness from the road, because it's going to be like it's on the highway going through town, so it's got to look just as good during the night as well. If you like, I'll go through the next one also, and we'll go for feedback so we can do some comparisons. Is that okay? We're happy with that approach? Sorry, we'll go to a side angle. You'll see the entrance area, and this is the front shaded area. So when you're walking in, sorry Ross, you can point. And this here basically gives you an idea of the context size in comparison to everything else and where around. By way of the entrance points, out car park area, main roads as such. This here concept, the market study, so by way of 3 metres by 3 metres, these are your market stall areas that we've sort of just as an indicative idea on what we're looking at and the area that it can look after. And as you can see, the area is fairly large. We do have grassed areas, but we were looking to utilise the shade that we did have to make sure comfort was provided. For larger events and whatever, of course, we can creep out into the grassed area as such. Are you happy to go through, or do you want to have a comment on option A while we go? So I'll leave it to yourselves.
I'm go through.
Happy to go through? Yep, sweet. Okay, this is the second option. And again, these options were sort of toyed down from what they originally came out so that we could put together a more defined options for consultation. Instead of putting out a what do you want, we've given you a bit of an idea on what we think it's going to look like so that we can sculpt it back or make the small changes from there. Landscape B, as you'll see here, you've got the walkway still going through. It's a straight through walkway, similar shading from the start to the beginning. But with this one here, you'll note in the bottom corner, it's more of a sort of a segregated area, gives a little bit of privacy. So if you're wanting to go to the park and have a quiet area, you can go there. Or the top end there, you'll see we've still stuck with the stage area to allow for those things such as yoga, performances, schoolcraft, whatever it may be. We can deliver on those. To the right of that, in the corner, you'll see we've still stuck with the restroom area, and we've also got storage in there as well. Because one thing that does lack, and it was in the other one as well, sorry I didn't mention that, we have shipping container storage area, because it's great to make things look good, but at the same time we've got to cater for what we do require at the same time. Along the left-hand side there, you'll notice we've got the shipping container kitchens again. We've got 3 there. Again, each street, try and make it attractive to all that visit. We've got the seating there as well. Underneath the shaded trees, you'll notice we've tried to make as much seating available as possible. Yeah, and that will be under those trees and make use of shade wherever we can. Like I said, that will have the information shown and reflecting on the history of Mount Isa. And that can be, we're still looking at the options that are available. It could be audio, visual. We can put a little bit of technology to thought there and how we best present that information. I think, like I said, we've got bike racks in there at the main entrance, toilets. There will be things that we'll talk about later. Oh, sorry, one thing I failed to mention in the other one as well, and I'll go back. But in the centre, you'll notice there we've made allowances for a mister. And we'll work out the best locations for these misters as well, whether it be under the shaded areas or in a larger public space and whatever, because we are mindful to keep areas as cool as they can be, as well as this one here in the bottom corner down the bottom there. You'll notice we've made allowances for a water feature or waterfall. It'll be with no reservoir, nothing external, so it will be safe. It's basically for appearance as well as noise of running water, and it'll help with the drone out of the highway noise that goes past there also.
Hey, Brian,
Yes.
what if everyone loves first one, but they also want the mister?
That is, in option A, you'll see there should be a mister in there as well.
Okay, right.
But that's the idea of the consultation, is at the end there might be a part of B that you like to go into A or A to go into B. We can mix it up and make those comments available. Yep. So we are mindful of space and we're trying to use it as effectively as possible, give as much shade as possible, grassed areas, and we'll go into the surface areas as well a little bit later on how we're looking at that. Talk about those versions of your misters, your waterfalls, such. And we've also got in some of the areas wall space that we're looking to utilise, not just for signage, but it might be electronic signs, light displays and things like that, so that it doesn't leave itself open for any damage. It can be on and off at any given time, and it can depict what we'd like to depict. I feel as though I'm rushing through it, and I hope I'm not, but like I said, we'll go into the surface areas that aren't grass shortly, just to give you an idea that we're not just thinking concrete, cement, hard and hot. Again, this is the side view. Again, we've got the walkway going straight through from the middle, the shaded areas up to the side with the rooteries and such, and that is the top end, sorry, with the stage area, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we'd love to buy the trees that big, but we'll have shaded trees put in place so we can do what we can with it. Again, just to bring it to scale, to show you the access points and where it sits with other surrounding buildings. well. I mean, I know their staff would probably park out the back where they can, but at the same time, all staff are urged to usually park away from their building to make way for customers, so we saw that as a great advantage for businesses in the CBD.
Look, my thoughts are if we put undercover parking there or some shade for the cars, then people will use it, because that's what people seem to be driven by, is shade.
And it's one thing that's come out through the stakeholder engagements, that walkability, where it's trying to get them to walk as much as they can, but one thing that did come out with Mount Isa, it's more drivability. You want to drive where you can, get where you can fast, because it's usually hot and uncomfortable. So we've kept that in mind with the car parking being close and the access to parking as well. Again, this one gives some context to the market sites that can be available. You'll see inside, and these are only just indicative, just to give you an idea. Again, we can probably put some more in the park area, but you'll see how it lends itself to the car park area outside, whether it be day or evening markets. This here gives you an idea of some of the ideas that we're looking at by way of the bins, the misters in the middle there, the seating and the lights, trying to combine the two. It's going to be like a landmark statement to Mount Isa, Centennial Park, so we just don't want to put a bench seat in there and say, ta-da, you got somewhere to sit. We want to make it a feature as well. And with that feature, it's not just for the Mount Isa residents, it's for tourists who come through, so we have to make it as attractive as possible. Shade structures, as you'll see there, again, just indicative to give us an idea on what we're looking at. The misters, yeah, we'd love to have one like that. It'd be great. You'd walk through beautifully. But again, these are just to get everybody thinking about the various shade structures that we can have and put into play. Next slide is on the flooring and some features. So like I said, we've got pavers, we've got tiles, we've got a host of options there with the flooring outside of the grassed areas. Because as you know, Mount Isa, hot climate, cement, hot, kids play, it's not comfortable, so we're giving that some thought as well and value your feedback on what you may think. Features throughout, we've got the emu footprint, the token there. It can be a host of things that we can put through by way of different features as well. So I suppose the main thing is we just don't want it to be seen as just another park. Plant palette. We're working with our gurus within council that'll let us know what best suits and what should be used, what's easy maintenance or what's best maintenance for the area, taking into consideration water usage and the like. So there's some recommendations coming through there, but the idea is most so a lot of the natives where possible, large shaded trees and a cooling environment. Community feedback. Before I get into this one, we'll go over, if it's okay, we'll just start with any questions or any comments. Council's not here to defend any of the works that's been going on. We're here to take on and absorb any comments so that we can make it a part of the planning process. So I'll put it to you guys, including council and council workers or whatever it may be. Any comments at all, or we're happy with how it's going?
Just with the plants, you know, with the trees, I should say, you know, the one thing is we've got to be careful what trees we put up, because the last thing we want is a tree that sucks all the moisture out of the earth and then you can't grow any grass around it. That's right. So that's sort of be mindful of. And I think, you know, for me, Mount Isa red dirt, you know. So I guess, you know, if this park is representative of Mount Isa, it'd be great to see things that are just unique to Mount Isa. So as much as an emu thing is great, that's not my first thought when I think of Mount Isa, but I know that's just an idea, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, no, good point. Using things that are like branded Mount Isa, I suppose. Some of the signage too that'll be going in will be of that nature to tell the story of Mount Isa and the environment around as well, but we can make note of.
Yeah. Well, we've got two newbies, haven't we? Dave, how long have you been in Mount Isa for? Almost 3.5 years. And Luke, you've been here for 3.5 years? And Deanne, how?
Third year Australia Day this year.
Yep. So we've got a long-term resident. 32.
Look, I am curious with this, that to encourage people to use all of that area on a frequent basis, particularly if you're going to drag some friends from interstate and come visit. Are there barbecue facilities anywhere within the plan?
No, not at this stage, no.
So, you know, coin electric operated.
Yeah, we can write that down as a consideration.
And I'm curious about the sprinkler or misting system.
Mm-hmm.
Is it timed? Is it equally solar powered for?
Two very interesting points. One, with the solar, we're looking at how we can involve solar as much as we can throughout the park with the lighting and the like. With the misters, we haven't determined exactly the set process yet on how that will be applied, but I dare say timers will be possibly the key way to go with that one.
And lastly, security cameras, because there are a few attractions for the skateboarders there.
Yep.
Every time you establish an outdoor
Yeah,
facility.
I believe we have over 100 security cameras within the CBD or within Mount Isa area, and I dare say there will be consideration given to putting security cameras in there as well.
How tall is the proposed waterfall wall?
That is a very good question. I don't know the detail on that. We haven't got to that level of detail as yet.
I think it's a good question about the mister, and I guess you'd want something that is motion detected, really, wouldn't you? You wouldn't want it on when no one's there.
Yeah,
Could be
no.
something a bit like the fun park where, you tap the thing and
Yeah,
the system
yeah.
comes on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Could be something similar.
yeah, I think that's a great idea, and I think it was a good point. Yeah.
There might be some avid abseilers trying to scale the waterfall feature.
Oh, I think that it's at the moment it's just that's just a picture of
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
it's
sky's the limit.
That's just to give us an idea of what we're looking at.
What could be possible, and obviously do the risk management strategies around the different features.
That's why we said there'll be no reservoir access to or anything on the like. It'll be just purely waterfall, creating that background noise and feature. Recycle.
I've never asked this question before.
Okay.
Is bore water available in Mount Isa anywhere?
In Mount Isa it is.
Usually it's in a few parks.
So
That could
bore
be
water
considered.
to irrigate trees, ferns.
Probably need to use the microphone, so otherwise you won't be heard on the video. Oh, okay.
Sorry, and just to make note too, as it made mention on the slide there, this feedback's open for not just today and tonight, so it's good to have general discussion. If you walk away this evening and you have any other comments or things you think you should have said, by all means you can scan that. It'll take you straight to the survey, I've been told, so it can be straight away access.
Do you want to move your microphone? Yeah, do you want to just have your microphone? Just
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
How about that?
that's good.
I'm just so you know, I'm going to stick around till 6:20. So if I end up walking out on the conversation, I've got another appointment. Firstly, talking generally, I think it's having lived most of my life not in Mount Isa. I think Mount Isa is a place where open space is something that is synonymous with this area. There's the sky is very big, the streets are very wide. You don't have to drive very far to get a sense of openness, but a lot of that is informal space. A lot of it's private land. A lot of it's public land used for other things. But to have a formal open space location is relatively conspicuous in its absence around here. I'm from Melbourne, and public recreation spaces, public parks dominate the city. That's kind of my background. So to see an additional park going in town, I think is a wonderful idea. So the broad concept of the idea, I think, is wonderful. I guess like every site is what it is. You can't change it. You can't move it onto the other side of the road. It is on that corner and it's not going to be anywhere else. So I think the greatest challenge it has, and you've alluded to the climate, and the way this site responds to the climate, I think, is crucial. It's on the south side of the road, so any planting deep inside the site is going to shade adjacent properties beautifully, but won't shade the actual site itself. So that would then mean that all the shade. This is one reason why I particularly like option B, is that there's more shade options along the northern boundary of the site, and which is to the right of screen, and along the eastern boundary as well. So the more plantings that can come closer to the state-controlled road and to Miles Street mean that there's greater shade created. And you see on that plan there, you've got those red or kind of claret-coloured rectangles in the top right, so the southwest corner of the site. Remind me what they are again?
Containers.
Yeah, the containers, yeah. So I think they're really well located because they're tucked away in that southwest corner and the shade creations are opposite. So I think there's more spots in that area to create the shade, which might attract people to use the site. I think that that angular path, that straight path that traverses the site from the overflow car parking, which is what this document refers to it as, and then down to Miles Street connecting with the existing shops, I think is an asset that you can, and you mentioned that about people can make their way through the property. I think that's a very good idea. Having driven past the property many times, it's quite remote from, as you no matter which direction you're travelling, west or east, you get that sense that it's quite distant from the road. One concern I have is that whether they're visitors to the city or locals, it'll be, you see it over there, but it's probably too hard to get to. I'm separated by another 3 lanes of traffic or a car park, and then finally you get. So I think that presents a challenge for the site to entice people to it. So the presentation of lots of shade options, which I think it does a good job to do, kind of raises the bar, I guess, for what it needs to achieve. That overflow car parking area, is that actually part of the road reserve, or is it another lot that's owned by council, or road reserve? Yeah, okay. Is there any involvement from Main Roads about usage of that
At this
space?
stage,
Like, is the state government? Right. Yep. Yep. Right.
hence,
I'm just wondering if it can be explored, whatever efforts can be made to beautify that piece of land
yeah, good comment.
that might actually soften the impact between. I mean, we've got a relatively unique situation where it's not just a state-controlled road, it's a designated road train route. It's part of the Barkly Highway that connects two states. It's a significant roadway that is hard up against what could be quite a tranquil place of peace and quiet, or some on occasion activity and stuff. So it'd be nice to see that, and I agree it's relatively underutilised now. To see that beautified and kind of blended into the park, I think that'd be a great idea.
Great points.
So I've recently seen some, having travelled around kind of the northwest to various towns, there's obviously no comparable city of Isa's size in this context, but I saw a great park recently developed at Croydon, much smaller town, but they've just recently put in, it's not yet open when I was there, but it's, sorry? No, Croydon in towards Cairns. Obviously much smaller town, but I was taken by the efforts that they were doing to put in, there was an existing park which was quite a formal green space with mature trees, and this other one was quite a different design. I don't know if it's on Google Street View or anything, but I'm sure the internet will provide the info. It was just an interesting usage of, there was no lawn space at all in this park. There was pathways through it, some mature plantings, there was a central gazebo. It was relatively modest in the infrastructure, but I thought it was an interesting formal space that, opposite a run of heritage buildings and the relatively modest council offices.
Your comments sort of just reinforce what you said before about attractive from the roadway. Even though you couldn't get in, it stood out.
Yeah, and it's obviously, it's on a much quieter street. And I think that's overwhelmingly the challenge of having a park of this kind hard up against such a heavily trafficked space. But then it's got that I think that southern, the northern end of Miles Street there is doing really well at the moment, and this can do wonders to complement that. There's a bit of a dump of information, but
A good
Yeah,
dump
that's
too.
good.
Thank you very
That was
much.
good. Thanks, David. Dee,
I really like both concepts too, but I'm really interested in hearing your points on concept B. Yeah, I think that's I was looking at it too, I quite liked how, the table tennis, that bit of outdoorsy sort of type game space, but you could accommodate that easily in concept B as well, down where you've got the tables and chairs and that, bit on the left there. You definitely set up something similar there very easily.
Mindful to try and be attractive to all and not just the one. So we've got a family fun park, we've got a water park, we've got those sort of assets there.
I think it is missing just two key sports features, which could be put juxtaposed different ends of this. One would be a little lawn bowl strip, another would be a bocce strip.
There's something else I failed to mention too, sorry.
There's nothing, you watch people play lawn bowls, and they do get quite animated. But you see, also with, they call bocce strip, which is just sand and steel balls, they certainly do get quite animated. Coming back to this issue about that surplus land, is there plans to import trees on that area which would sometimes be used for parking? This it looks like the rudder off my catamaran. Is there some, just to soften the harshness of heavy haulage that comes along there? And it'd be a travesty to spend a lot of money on a site which is then not frequented by both locals and tourists. So is then the focus back to bloody parking? Excuse me. But seems to, we've all become quite sedentary. We're not focused on walking all that much. Less so here because of the heat. Where are you from, David? Where in Melbourne?
Where? Oh, I've lived in different spots, but east, northwest, south, so
Okay.
I'm pretty much familiar with a lot.
Yeah. Where last? Sorry.
Pardon?
Okay. I'm a Caulfield boy. I still have residence at Caulfield, opposite the racetrack.
Oh, yeah, I know
I
that.
walk out my front door, it's green. I go upstairs, it's green over the track. You go out for a walk at night, take the dog, take the frisbee. It's convenient. Okay, there's traffic, that's life. And this is something how do you get people engaged in using outdoor public facilities? The old adage, if you build it, they will come. We hope so. But everything that's proposed here is far better than the concrete slab that's there at the minute. And I suppose with, market stalls and all sorts of using it for entertainment, and it's great. Is it large enough though?
We actually asked the designers that question,
'Cause
and
I don't think it is.
well, surprisingly, they said, "Yeah, it's huge," and we're like,
I
"Really?"
could kick a footy from one.
But you know,
I
Sorry?
said quite possibly.
What do you mean? Oh,
I suppose, possibly.
I might remind you.
so I think it's 100
Some
metres
mates were
square.
AFL footy players. We used to beat the hell out of them at
2,000. Okay, so it's really 2 housing blocks there.
school. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
2 housing blocks, but it just doesn't seem. It just seems a little compact.
Yep.
And I think,
David talked about where we're accustomed to outdoor reserves everywhere. I've got at Caulfield, it's like a 5 kilometre walk around, and then there are additional reserves, facilities as
Well,
well.
you make a good point, and it was a question we asked the designers,
I don't
and they
feel it's
said
big enough.
it was pretty big, and then I thought, you know what, if you step outside here, it's about the equivalent size of what we're doing. If you're, just the grassed area with the
Yes, I know.
and that to me, we've hosted quite a few events there, and we can get quite a few people in, and social distance, by the way, and but I just think, I see people come along and throw a blanket down just in front of the Civic Centre and have a little picnic, or they bring their kids along, and when you see our Christmas decorations that are currently going up,
Saw them this morning.
yeah, I don't know if you were here last year for them, but they're amazing. And the amount of families that come and bring some food and just sit around the Christmas decorations, it's amazing, So I'm hoping that we can create that space in Centennial Place.
Has COVID sabotaged outdoor water fountains, drinking facilities?
don't believe so.
So are they out with any
Oh, sorry,
common?
we've made allowances for the water
Yeah.
fountains through the facility. That was in one of the slides.
Yeah, I think a lot of them are automated now, so you sort of go up and you don't have to touch anything.
Is there a plan to acquire the worn-out west side?
No.
There's a lot of underutilised land there, plus a sweeping. It's just,
Well, who knows what the future holds, but not at this stage.
I mean, if space is an issue, my mind goes straight back to that part of that road reserve that the council seems to have
Yeah, and look, I always
some access to, so that if that was, that could, the more that gets incorporated into the property would
Yeah.
informally at least enlarge it.
I always think it's a shame when you're driving down the highway and you've got a few service stations that are no longer used, and I think that's a missed opportunity as well. But I mean, obviously that's not our land, so we can't do anything with that. But who knows what the future holds?
Yeah, I think we'll definitely make it a notice.
when the outdoor the street festival is on,
Yeah, the Isa Street Festival.
yeah,
Festival.
and it's great. And then what happens is that the land here is all utilised and people come, but they're restricted right at the corner there with Worn Out West. And whilst it might look large on paper, it's not all that large, and I think it would provide a flow on to the rest of the council grounds here.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, because I've been there in the last 7 days, I've been there twice.
Oh, have you? Yep.
Oh, yeah.
That's good.
And I just think you're spending a lot of money on a small site.
So look, what happened was, and right at the beginning, we actually went out to the community and we said, sky's the limit, what do you want to see there? So it could have been,
I'm aware of that. I didn't attend and I didn't input because I was stranded in Brisbane.
No, and so it was overwhelming, the response to having somewhere where the public could hang out, have an eat street and have markets. So I think we were sort of, we went with what the community wanted in that space. So it was the community's voice on that one.
And I think, Lee, just to add, sort of to complement what you just said before, part of the CBD master plan, which I think part of it was to later on, or future plans were to help link up to the civic area as well from this park area to the walkways and make it so it seems like it's connected.
Well, as you recall, we walked out there as a group.
Yeah, that's right.
And once we walked out there as a group and you've got a bunch of people next to you, either side, that site doesn't appear to be all that large.
That's why we say the CBD master plan hopefully will bring it together.
Yeah,
Activity.
let's hope so.
Yeah, I agree.
Just before I go, from just on my memory, there's currently no disability car spaces in that part of the CBD. I think the closest one is up near the new donut shop, quite a distance away and quite a gradient. So the land generally more or less flattens out once you get down to the bottom of Miles Street. But I think that this whole redevelopment, when it happens, would provide a great opportunity to put in some at the flattest spots, whether they're on the around in Grace Street or whether they're actually in Miles Street. So to put in a couple of all-person access.
I'd be surprised if that feedback hasn't already been received.
Yeah. But also, so we started community engagement with the businesses in the CBD, but we will be going out to the Mount Isa public about the master plan for the CBD as well. So there'll be lots of opportunities to have some feedback on what you'd like to see in the CBD, or improvements or things that need to change or things you'd like to see. So so we did target businesses for the first one, but we basically allowed anyone to come along, and we will have another one that'll have the general public there too, so that'll be great if you can come along.
Oh, at the bottom of... Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity.
And how many businesses did you engage with, Rob?
Thanks, David.
Two, no, thank you.
And you can tell David is an ex-town planner. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Good hazard.
And Deanne.
I've got nothing more at this stage. I just think it's wonderful, and it's great that space is actually going to get used for something.
Yeah.
Although, albeit, considered maybe a bit small, I think it's going to be great regardless.
Yeah, and I guess at the end of the day, we sort of we can only work with what we've got, and we're just going along with what the community sort of really voiced about having a space for them. So, and I think as Dave said, it will be nice to see something green in the area, so besides the Civic Centre, of course, because the Civic Centre always looks green.
Is there thought being given to purchase of matured trees?
I dare say there would be.
For example, David was talking about all over Melbourne, things that happened. There was a location where a whole it was basically a golf course that was chopped up for subdivision, and truckloads of palm trees were purchased. Now, palm trees in Victoria, climate's not quite conducive. However, they were planted, you could see they were being irrigated from the top and kept moist, etc. After a number of years, when the residential fringe area became established and these trees were there as part of the estate, a shopping centre developed, Doncaster Shopping Centre, and it's extremely vibrant. But the thing that's most identifiable, quite ironically of course, is a shopping centre that has a perimeter of palm trees. And so they were purchased as mature trees, propagated, and all I can say is you need shade in Mount Isa. The thing that kills you in Mount Isa, it's not the dust and the flies, it's the heat.
And I think, just to your point, as you drive into Mount Isa from the Cloncurry side and you go past Gillett Caravan Park and they've got all the palms there, it does have that nice...
Oh yeah, yeah, it's great.
Looks like an oasis, yeah.
You know.
But look, I believe that's probably drilling down to stuff we're not probably looking at the moment, but it's good feedback, thank you.
Note we've got some council staff here as well. Any feedback from what's been said? Gail or Jason just picked up from comments made tonight?
Yeah. That's right. And when I think about Mount Isa, I think about underground, I think about rodeo, and I think about sport, as a local. But it's really good to hear some people who aren't from here have what their thought. But my thoughts are, with all our master plans that we're doing, it really has to be a nod to Mount Isa. I don't want you to go somewhere and think this park could be anywhere. I want it to be, this is Mount Isa, that makes sense, And I think that's really important for, the community, so that it's ours and we feel like the ownership as well. And definitely interested in people from our town's point of view, don't get me wrong, because it's, as locals you can actually not realise some of the great things that are happening around Australia.
Come to Mount Isa as I did 3 years back, and you ask, well, who do I ask? Where do I go to get information on all the parks and the other things? And the answer was, just drive around, you'll be done in 10 minutes. So, whilst that might be the attitude,
We do have a tourist information centre at back at Isa.
yeah, I know.
Is that what they told you to do that?
So I did go there. I did go there and I thought, this is nice. There's a few little areas. And then I thought, where's the main public grounds that you can go to for, you see some basketball courts, you see some outdoor bowls. And the other thing is, of course, when you come to Mount Isa, you don't, as a new resident, you cannot get a new residence information pack from council. So if I come to town, you'd want to know, well, when do you put your garbage out? Where's the phone number for all the major...
So Luke, interestingly enough, about a month or two ago, we had a group of grade fours come to Mount Isa City Council, and they've been doing study on local government, and they'd narrowed it down to 6 kids who are running for mayor for the day.
Yep.
And one of the suggestions from one of the kids was to have a local pack for people new to town. And I believe we used to do it a long time ago. And in fact, we used to have volunteers who would actually happily meet up with you and talk about, you know, where you could live, what schools, things like that. And it has fallen by the wayside.
And the good news is they're being activated by way
They are?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
tourism or is that us?
Us as well was trying to engage.
I concur, Madam Mayor, it's great.
Yeah.
Go to Royal Brisbane Hospital for whatever reason. They have volunteers that help shuffle you around the place. So,
Yeah, that's right.
The volunteers or the Citizens Advice Bureau kind of thing really works well to
Yeah, definitely.
engage people.
And look, you know, we've noticed since COVID that the volunteer base has dwindled, you know, so I'm really hoping that once, you know, COVID's a distant memory, you know, that everyone, you know, comes back. And yeah, fully agree. When you go to New York, there are people who volunteer to walk you around certain suburbs in New York. It's, you know, and they're retired people who love their city, and there's no reason why we couldn't do something similar
I did a little bit
in
of
tourism.
I did a little bit of settle in for the mines when I first came here. You know, drive their new prospective employees around town. You know, this is all the good stuff that you want to see. Very important.
Yeah,
How you engage and then retain, because the population is transient, the working population, that is.
Graduate program, I think, wasn't it?
Sorry?
That was about their graduate program when they knew graduates used to
Oh, not just
No,
graduates,
no.
all sorts of employees, until, you know, of course, they have difficulties with fly in, fly out, but we're not here to talk about them. I'm just saying that it's nice if you can get access to valuable information.
yeah. Well, thanks, Luke. I really appreciate all your feedback, and we have written down all the feedback that we got today. So, Dan, thank you. If you think of anything that later, by all means, use the code and put it forward, because at the end of the day, this is really important that the community feels some ownership of this, and no idea is a bad idea, you know, and all feedback's good, because, you know, I think originally we didn't have toilets, and now we do, so, you know, that's great feedback from the community. All right, well, should we close the meeting? So for everyone who's tuned in, and for people who come in person, thank you so much for coming in. And we've taken all the notes, and I'd just like to thank the staff for all the hard work, and also the tract, isn't it? Tract? Yeah, tracks.
Lovely, thank you.
Yeah, and yeah, look, I'm looking forward to when we first turn the dirt and get this started, so.